A former vice president who administered the oath of office to newly elected members of parliament as the Rajya Sabha chairman in the morning submitted his resignation that very night. No warning, no final address, just a letter and an exit. The official reason cited is health, but the inside story tells us there was much more brewing behind the scenes. Times Now has accessed inside details that lay out the sequence that led to Dhankar's stunning and sudden resignation. What are we looking at in terms of the timeline? This is what happened yesterday. July 21st, 2 p.m. What upset the government? The Vice President accepting the opposition's impeachment motion. No I.N.D.A. MP signature was on the removal notice. Also, this is a notice signed by 63 members of parliament from the opposition. Further, at 4:30 p.m., what we know is that no government representative was there in the second BAC meeting. But at 4:30 p.m., what you don't know is that senior BJP leader had conveyed the discontent to Vice President Jagdeep, and Dhankar had rebuffed the senior leader's message. We've seen how there was Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, Home Minister Shah, and the BJP president who met soon after all of this. At 9:25 p.m., Dhankar announced his resignation, and that, of course, has sparked off a huge amount of speculation. Now, we also know that while the Raksha Mantri, the Home Minister, the Leader of the House in Rajya Sabha all have met, and later we all know that all I.N.D.A. MPs were asked to come anyhow. The I.N.D.A. MPs were made to sign blank papers, and the move was meant as a memo to Dhankar. From 7:30 p.m. to 8 p.m., we've seen that there was a signature drive that ended. Dhankar eventually saw the writing on the wall, and then he met with President Murmu. At 9:25, he announced his resignation on social media platform X. However, Jagdeep Dhankar's unexpected late evening resignation has triggered speculation. A lot of murmurs and theories, as well as the opposition itself, leaving no opportunity at any point of time at what they are calling a larger ploy by the Modi government.
मैं सिर्फ एक आग्रह करूंगा महामहिम उपराष्ट्रपति से कि इस पर पुनर्विचार करें.
Looks like a Soviet-style midnight resignation.
कहाँ साइन किया गया था उसकी जानकारी तो नहीं थी. लगता है कि सत्ता पक्ष के लोगों को इसमें इंटरवेन करके और उनको फिर से वापस रखना चाहिए.
Very peculiar virus that's going around. I don't think he's resigned voluntarily. So it's very strange. Today we're headless.
कहीं न कहीं उन्होंने दबाव में इस्तीफा दिया है. उनकी भावना कहीं न कहीं आहत हुई है.
Probably is the first time in history that a vice president has resigned in such a shocking manner.
Normally, when somebody retires or resigns or goes away, we have a farewell speech. He didn't even wait for his farewell.
However, the BJP says opposition is needlessly playing politics over Dhankar's health. Listen.
Somebody is resting, आप उस पर भी आप राजनीति कर रहे हैं. मतलब हद हो गई. राजनीति का लेवल दिन ब दिन नीचे गिरता जा रहा है. लेकिन विपक्ष का सवाल ये इसलिए है. अरे विपक्ष तो क्या सवाल करता है हमको समझ ही नहीं आ रहा है. विपक्ष का सवाल ही किसी को पूरा देश बाल खजवाने लगता है. विपक्ष कौन सवाल करता है मेरे को आज तक मुझे समझ में नहीं आता.
बहुत ही एक तरह से देखेंगे कि उनके प्रति जो है वो थैंकफुल है कि उन्होंने अपना वक्त अपनी सेवाएं जो है वो देश के लिए दी, पार्लियामेंट के लिए, सदन के लिए दी. तो उसके लिए हम सदा उनके आभारी रहेंगे.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Let's take this across to our guest. Joining us is Tushar Gupta, political analyst. Rajat Sethi is an author and economist. Joining us. With us also is Krishna Hegde, Shiv Sena spokesperson. Pappu Yadav is independent member of parliament of the Lok Sabha. We have Dr. Syed Hafiz, who's a DMK spokesperson. Ghanshyam Tiwari is SP's national spokesperson. Advocate Nikhil Jain is a political analyst joining us. Let me go first and foremost to Pappu Yadav, independent member of parliament of the Lok Sabha. Pappu Yadav ji, health reason बताया जा रहा है. ऐसा क्यों मानते हैं आप कि ये health reason नहीं है?
अच्छा, एक बात बताइए, हेल्थ रीजन कभी कोई बात ऐसी होती है. एक तो संस्थाओं को आप देखिए कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट के 5 सदस्यों ने क्या कहा था कि डेमोक्रेसी के लिए कुछ भी अच्छा नहीं है. चुनाव आयोग जब एक रिजाइन किए थे तो उन्होंने क्या कहा था, जब रिजर्व बैंक के गवर्नर छोड़ करके आए थे कि तब आप उसको उस पर टिप्पणी देखिए क्या थी, सारी संस्थाएं 11 सालों के अंदर आप इसको उठा करके देखेंगे तो आपको पता चलेगा जिन्हें संविधान का रेस्पेक्ट ही नहीं है। जब कहते हैं कि विपक्ष, हम इस पे विपक्ष की बात नहीं करेंगे, हो सकता है कांग्रेस के रीजन में भी कुछ हुआ हो, लेकिन कल कांग्रेस के रीजन में कुछ हुआ इसलिए यहाँ आलोचना नहीं होनी चाहिए। आप एक बात बताइए,
आप जनरल बात कह रहे हैं कि सारे इंस्टीट्यूशंस के साथ इस तरह हुआ है, इस स्पेसिफिक केस के बारे में बताइए। वाइस प्रेसिडेंट धानकर के केस में वो हाउस में आते हैं, कल उन्हें ओथ एडमिनिस्टर की, उन्होंने किस किस विषय को लेकर ये सारी इशू उठी है, आप क्या मानते हैं, क्या स्पेसिफिक इशू है जिसकी वजह से ये इस्तीफा देना पड़ा उन्हें?
देखिए, दो तीन बात समझिए। ये 1.5-2 महीने से चीजें चल रही है। वर्मा, जस्टिस वर्मा से लेकर एक और भी जज है जिनका नाम लेना मैं अभी उचित नहीं समझता हूं, जिस पर महाभियोग की चर्चा लगातार उपराष्ट्रपति जी के संदर्भ में, और फिर बीजेपी नहीं चाहती थी कि सर्वोच्च न्यायालय पर जो विवादास्पद लगातार कुछ बातें आ रही थी उपराष्ट्रपति महोदय के द्वारा, वह इन लोगों को नागवार गुजरा। देखिए, राष्ट्रपति जी 14 के बाद भारत की जो उनका स्वरूप, उन्होंने लगातार बीजेपी के बारे में और संविधान को भी बीजेपी के बारे में जिस तरीके से व्याख्या करके बीजेपी को प्रोटेक्ट किया, लेकिन जब जरूरत पड़ी तो किसानों की बात पूरे मजबूती के साथ।
you're saying it's a controversial statements made. Let's go one by one. एक एक करके जाते हैं. Let me take this question right across to Tushar Gupta. It's the controversial statements that have been made by Mr. Dhankar, not just the impeachment process or the motion as far as Justice Verma is concerned, but also the controversial statements vis-a-vis the judiciary which he was given, where he has talked about, and I think Mr. Pappu Yadav has a fact. There are controversial statements that the Vice President has made. He's talked about altering the basic structure. He's talked about a number of provisions which he said should be undone, and has somewhere those statements cost the Vice President is a question that comes to mind from what Mr. Pappu Yadav is saying. Tushar.
Point number one, if someone wants to debate on the nature of the Constitution and probable changes around the Constitution, how does it become a controversial statement? Point number two, if you think the impeachment motion or the discussion around impeachment motion was controversial, the opposition was also supporting that impeachment motion against Justice Verma. So how does it become controversial for Dhankar but non-controversial for the opposition? Point number three, Jagdeep Dhankhar also spoke on a lot of issues related to the farmers. He himself was a farmer. He spoke on the farm laws, how they were beneficial for the farmers. He spoke at length about it. Why is that not counted as controversial? Because that was generally in agreement with the government. So the opposition today is cherry-picking statements which they think do not align with the government, and that is why it's controversial and sort of linking a causality to it. And most importantly, if Sonia Gandhi decides not to contest the Lok Sabha election, citing her health reasons, that's acceptable. There's no conspiracy theory there. There is no imminent fear of defeat there. But if Jagdeep Dhankhar from the opposite side says, I want to hang up my boots, my health needs my attention, suddenly there are all sorts of conspiracy
पप्पू यादव जी जवाब दीजिए, अगर सोनिया गांधी हट जाती है हेल्थ रीजन साइड करते हुए तो दिक्कत नहीं है, अगर जगदीप धानकर जी हट जाते हैं तो उसकी कंट्रोवर्सी होती है, और हर एक विषय पे अगर कोई अपनी व्यक्तिगत राय रखता है तो उसे कंट्रोवर्सी क्यों माना जाता है? जवाब दीजिए।
नहीं, कोई कंट्रोवर्सी की बात नहीं है। मैंने कहा कि हेल्थ ग्राउंड की कोई स्थिति होती, जब ये बीमार थे, काफी सीरियस थे, उस वक्त भी छोड़ा जा सकता था, 15 दिन पहले भी छोड़ा जा सकता था, 1 महीने बाद भी छोड़ा जा सकता था। आप मोदी जी का एक नॉर्मल
बीमार नहीं हुए
कि मैं स्वास्थ्य की कामना करता हूं। मेरी बात तो सुने सर, मैं 1 मिनट के लिए बोल रहा हूं। मोदी जी का कल एक ट्वीट देखिए, इनके रिजिग्नेशन के बाद आज उन्होंने स्वास्थ्य की कामना की, और एक भी मंत्री ने कोई बात ऐसी चर्चा नहीं की। दूसरी बात, मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूं कि सदन शुरुआत का पहले दिन, प्रथम दिन ऐसी कौन सी बीमारी, एक तो आप इसको समझिए, इसको अननेचुरल आप नहीं बोल सकते, पहले भी बीमार थे, एकदम बीमारी के ग्राउंड पर दिया जा सकता है। लेकिन जिस परिस्थिति में, एक तो जेपी नड्डा जी का वो बयान याद करिए, नेवर गो टू, किसी भी चीजों को, कोई भी चीज नहीं जाएगा, नथिंग गो एट रिकॉर्ड, आई से, उन्होंने कहा आई से, मैं कह रहा हूं। एक दूसरी बात, चेयर के सामने आप इस तरह के डेमोक्रेसी मूल्यों को तार तार कीजिएगा। शाम में जब बैठक हुई, जब
पप्पू यादव जी, सिंपल सवाल है, अगर आपको कोई डाउट है उनके हेल्थ कंडीशन पे, आप डेलीगेशन ले जाके उनसे मिल सकते हैं, आप पता कर सकते हैं। वही पार्लियामेंट से बहुत दूर नहीं है वाइस प्रेसिडेंट का घर।
मेरी बात तो सुनिए।
नहीं, आपकी बात, आपके सवाल का जवाब दे रहा हूँ।
मेरा मुझे कोई लेना देना नहीं है। मैं वही बात कह रहा हूं कि मैं कह रहा हूं कि 7:30 बजे बातचीत सभी लोगों को बुलाया गया, तब वो ठीक थे। एट रैंडम, बिना किसी चीज के, एक दिन के बाद उनकी मीटिंग लगी हुई है। वो जब हेल्थ उनका खराब होता तो बिना किसी जानकारी के वो चले गए।
हकीकत जानने के लिए सर उनसे तो मिलना पड़ेगा।
जिन्होंने उपराष्ट्रपति बनाया, नहीं सुनिए ना, जिन्होंने उपराष्ट्रपति बनाया या जिनके साथ इनका इंटीग्रिटी था, ये पीएम से मिलते, पीएम से कहते। इसके पहले शेखावत जी का आप याद करिए, जब शेखावत जी ने छोड़ा था कितने धूमधाम से उनका रिसेप्शन किया गया था। ये पीएम से बात
करके no farewell. Rajat said he respond to that. No farewell, no leaders wishing him on his exit, and no members of the BJP in fact meeting him as well. There is something very eerie and mysterious about the manner in which he's been removed, says Pappu Yadav. Please respond to him.
I think everybody is largely in a state of surprise, and people are still coming to the terms that yes, he has resigned now, and there will be leaders within the BJP who will continue to track his health and ensure that he has a long life.
Pappu Yadav has got up. I don't know why, but then he's part of a debate, as he very well knew. But anyway, carry on, Rajat.
Yeah, he has an important election apparently, and I don't think this issue is going to get him any votes. So the TRP is over and he can walk out. See, the problem is that the opposition wants to gun on the shoulders of the former vice president. That opportunity the BJP is not going to give them beyond a point. So this entire story will live another day and a half maximum. We'll have a new vice president and things will move on. Individuals will come and individuals will go. The country, the constitution, and our parliament will stay on. And I believe, leaders have spoken. The prime minister has tweeted. The former vice president has written a letter. And it will be for years that biographies and autobiographies would be written, which would be parsing these sentences. They will be looking for what is said and what is between those two words that are mentioned in these tweets and in the letters. So that is for the historians and the analysts to debate ad nauseum. And I believe right now the issue is largely addressed. BJP is taking a line that it was health reasons. Now, I'm not privy to any information. I can't go out and say that vice president was talking was falsehood. I don't have that information to actually make that assertion. So for me, what is out there in black and white is what it is there, and everything else that I've heard for past 24 hours is only so-called quote-unquote sources.
Okay,
Nobody's coming out on camera and saying that I have spoken to the vice president.
Let me bring in others.
This is what he said.
Let me bring in others one by one. I want Syed Hafiz to come in now. Syed Hafiz, spokesperson DMK. Why do you believe that this is more than health reasons, Syed Hafiz? Is there any reason for you to suspect that it's not what it appears to be at face value? Syed Hafiz.
Maybe this is the first resignation of a vice president in such a hasty manner. But the history of this government, of this administration, is apparent when we know 2 election commissioners in the past have resigned in a very opaque and in a similar fashion. To name them, it is Ashok Lavasa, where a CBI raids his family members and then he resigns from the election commission. And then one more officer in 2023, I think his name, I don't remember. So one more similar episode has happened. So opacity is part of this government when it comes to resignation of authorities holding institutional posts and, very important institutional posts. And in this case, the vice president. See, as long as he was with the BJP, listening to the dictats of the BJP, Dhankar was a hero for them. They hailed him when he questioned the judiciary. The moment things that go out and he starts thinking of his own, he is forced to resign. That is apparent. I am not going to speculate or I am not going to talk of the sources. What I have given you is a history of
when you are asking, Mr. Hafiz, firstly, let me correct you on facts. There was no CBI raid. I believe there was a tax case as far as some family members of Mr. Lavasa and the other election commissioner who in fact resigned was Mr. Arun Kumar Goel. Nevertheless, I am asking you a simple question. The BJP will turn around and ask the same question, that you were never, considering the vice president to be a fair person. He was always complaints. There's all sorts of movements against him for the last 3 years. How has he suddenly become the darling of the opposition's eye?
No, everybody who puts this question is wrong. We still stand with the fact that he was very partial towards the BJP. He was very, very partial towards the BJP. That is his history. We stand with that. We are not going to go back. The moment he starts thinking of his own, how BJP reacts. He's the vice president of the country, where Nadda says, no, what I say will go on record. Is this the respect that you give to the vice president of this country, to the chairperson of the Rajya Sabha? When this is the issue, we have to focus on this. We can't go back on the past.
Mr. Nadda has clarified his comment. To be fair, he has said that he wasn't speaking in that context. He was replying to opposition members who were speaking out of turn. That's what Mr. Nadda has said.
No, yeah, everybody will have an explanation. Everybody will have an explanation after they commit. So that's not the point.
Okay.
So, as you said, as your Times Now has said, you gave an opening remark of what could have happened. So I am quoting what has happened. So it is all speculative. So if I believe Times Now, so I am telling what Times Now is telling me.
Okay.
If you have to differ, Times Now is telling, it's up to you and for the rest of the people.
Okay.
So
we'll hold you up to that statement in days to come as well. Dr. Syed Hafiz, on a lighter note, I will hold you up to that statement that you made of believing everything that goes on Times Now. But yes, but that's for another day. Yeah, let me bring in Krishna Hegde now. Krishna Hegde, one thing is very curious. Why is it that both Mr. Nadda and Mr. Rijiju, although they say that they had other engagements, etc., was it already decided much in advance that the government and Mr. Dhankar are not on the same page? Especially when he announced that motion or brought in that motion in the Rajya Sabha as far as the impeachment of Justice Verma is concerned. Krishna Hegde.
I think 12:30 meeting, both the ministers were there, and it is for the 4:30 meeting. They said that they had some other issues to deal with, and therefore they could not be present, and therefore they had asked for postponement of the meeting. But I think there was a union minister who attended the meeting as well. So I don't think that is the case. The case actually is the opposition, including the I.N.D.I.A Gadbandhan, the Congress, and now what I'm hearing of the DMC spokesperson, are all cooking up imaginary stories and trying to, I don't know whether they are hallucinating or something. Mr. Dhankar, who's Honorable Jagdeep Dhankhar Ji, has lived a very distinguished public life. He was a member of parliament. He was a union minister. He was a governor and then the Vice President of India. And he's got over 50 years of public service. And he decides that I need to hang up my boots now because I have health issues. And, we wish him all the best. We wish his family the best. And we also hope that, whatever his health issues, he recovers very quickly and he's back for public service in some other capacity. I don't think there is a need to get into so much of, deliberations on this. Secondly, the opposition doesn't seem to have a policy. They don't seem to have a goal. They don't seem to have a direction, and they don't seem to have a vision. And
the reaction coming in of Akhilesh Yadav, he's just spoken to our correspondent Rishabh. Let's take a quick look at what Akhilesh Yadav had to say on this entire controversy. All right, let's quickly play out that clip where he has responded to the health reasons and he has also asked about who has visited him so far. That's a reaction coming in from the SP chief. Let's listen in.
स्वास्थ्य ही कारण है तो बीजेपी के लोगों को उनका स्वास्थ्य के बारे में चिंता करनी चाहिए, हालचाल लेना चाहिए और अगर उन्होंने स्वास्थ्य को लेकर के रिजाइन किया है तो उनके पूरा सम्मान और अगर फेयरवेल की दावत तो जो फेयरवेल का एक ट्रेडिशन होता है कम से कम सरकार को वो उनके लिए करना चाहिए। अगर बीजेपी के लोग हालचाल नहीं पूछने जा रहे हैं, फेयरवेल नहीं हो रहा है तो कहीं ना कहीं दाल में कुछ काला है।
तुषार, अगर बीजेपी के लोग उनका हालचाल नहीं पूछेंगे, अगर स्वास्थ्य की इशू है तो it will look very awkward. Ghanshyam, coming to you on that. Tushar, quick response from you first to what Akhilesh has said.
I mean, quite rich coming from Akhilesh Yadav. Just this morning, the Prime Minister wished the former Vice President good health. I don't know what more do they want. Even in the Parliament, I'm sure a lot of MPs, BJP MPs would have walked up to Mr. Dhankar. They must be in touch with Dhankar. What happens in their private communication, and we're not privy to it. But to just assume that the BJP MPs or the BJP ministers are not sort of wishing well for Dhankar, that's just an absurd remark.
Ghanshyam, respond to that. Ghanshyam, you're not privy to the conversation, the private conversation they may be having. Is that a fair comment to make? Ghanshyam.
Good evening, Madhav, to you, the viewers and the fellow co-panelists. There are three important things. One is health ground is an important ground for BJP then why is Nitish Kumar ji still the chief minister? It's public knowledge about the nature of his health. That's point number one. Point number two, and I did not interject anybody. When Mr. Pratap Sarangi said that he was injured and BJP took him to AIMS, nearly half a dozen cabinet ministers and half a dozen MPs visited him. When on camera there was no injury to be seen. So the double standards of BJP will have a Guinness record any day they want for any day they want. Point number three, that BJP has pulled a good card. I agree with what Tushar says, what Rajat says, what Mr. Krishna Hegde says, that the opposition is going after this story, because the real story is that we have a parliament in session, 2 days have happened. Prime Minister is missing in action to speak about Operation Sindoor, what was the trade deal with Trump, which the entire country wants to know. And tomorrow the Prime Minister is away on a foreign tour. So a Prime Minister who's not finding courage to speak truth to the Parliament will his government will invent issues, sensationalize it, and present it in a way that he is still in control. If he disagrees with Dhankar, who already has a listless and partial performance as Vice President of India, he will be gone before he knows it.
Okay,
but the nation will present a sensational story so that Prime Minister doesn't have to face the nation on the trade deal he did with Donald Trump at the cost of Operation Sindoor.
I don't know if the trade deal has even been announced yet, but anyway, Rajat Sethi, you want to respond to that?
I just want to tell Ghanshyam ji that, see, there is going to be a very elaborate discussion on our security policy and on our foreign policy. And all leaders, and including the Prime Minister, is going to speak on that. So I don't know if you have that special sort of day-to-day planning of the Prime Minister, which Prime Minister's office also doesn't have, wherein it has said or claimed that Prime Minister is not going to speak on Operation Sindoor at all. He started his parliamentary speech with Operation Sindoor, prior to the session beginning. How are you reaching to a conclusion that he's not going to speak? He will do that. And there are other important matters and pressing matters like a free trade deal with UK. There are certain very important things that are happening even in our neighborhood. You want to secure all of those things as well. And that is an invitation which came in from Maldives. So, a leader has to balance out a lot of things. The entire world is upside down right now. So he needs to have his one foot looking at those matters and one foot looking at parsing out, Operation Sindoor to the satisfaction of opposition leaders, which is never going to come to an end, no matter what he says.
Okay. Many questions that still are yet to be answered, but I'd like to thank all our panelists for joining us. Tushar Gupta, Rajat Sethi, Krishna Hegde, Mr. Papu Yadav earlier, Dr. Syed Hafiz, Ghanshyam Tiwari, and Advocate Nikhil Jain. Thanks so much for joining us this evening.